Good evening, everyone. It is Christine back for another evening of fantastic fun with you, creating a mood board. I've just been loving doing this. The first two have been so much fun, and just thank you so much for all your encouragement and people just saying it's really helping them think through their ideas, or even just getting that little glimpse into what's in my stash and how I might use it. So tonight we're back to create the third one. So there's two other videos up if you haven't seen them. The first one was Burgundy Bonheur, which was really rich burgundy, browns, creams and gold, with the Bonheur, which is a French general Bonheur de jour range of fabrics which have those burgundies and creams in it. And just celebrating some of my lovely vintage fabrics, but really warm, French, floral, really intense colours. And then my second mood board is Bountiful Blues and features lots of lovely birds as well, and also takes some inspiration from the Bleu de France range of French general fabrics as well, but then brings in heaps of my reclaimed secondhand vintage and other special pieces that I've collected through the years. And then my third piece, which we're going to be doing the mood board for tonight, is what I'm calling Blooming Beauty, which is all about celebrating the softer tones and celebrating those softer tones through lots of flowers and lots of greenery and vegetation, but even with the laces and the adornments, looking for ones that have flowers on them. So really wanting that blooming, whether it's flowers or leaves or vegetation, really wanting that in there, and just wanting to play to that softer tonal pieces. So I do have heaps of bright fabrics, but I'm not going to be using them for this. And I'm taking as my initial inspiration this beautiful ribbon embroidered vintage antique tablecloth. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to ultimately use this as it is in the piece, because I'm not sure I want to cut into it. But one possibility that I want to share with you, if you've got some beautiful things but you don't think either you can use them whole in your piece and you don't want to cut into them or actually use them, is you can take a photo of it. You'd iron it obviously, or get the wrinkles out, lay it really flat, and you can take a photo. Now, if you've got a good camera, even the iPhone cameras and other phone cameras, they can take pretty good photos these days. And then you can actually print that photo onto fabric or print it onto a transfer. And I just saw that I've just dropped down let me just clean those up. Got some pegs. So you can print onto fabric directly or onto a transfer and then onto fabric, or there's other ways to transfer your images to fabric as well. And so that's one option, to be able to use beautiful bits of inspiration in your piece, but not to potentially cut up pieces that are heirloom pieces that you want to keep in their entirety. You can also scan, where you put this face down on a scanner and scan it. I've found photography is better because I've found I get even more of the surface detail when it's a textural piece like that, and even just having the light sort of coming off the piece, it works better for me photographing it. Some of my photographed embroidery pieces that I've done myself, it's hard to tell when you're looking at them that they're not the actual directly embroidered piece. So anyway, that's one possibility that I'll explore for this. Now, I want to share with you one of the greenery pieces that I think is also part of my inspiration for the colour palette that I want to go with the greens. Now, if you have a look at this piece of toile, it's really a similar colour to the green down in the ribbon embroidery, and it just has lovely scenes on it. Let's get one of those scenes. Lovely scenes of people with castles, lovers, as we say. So definitely going to want to have that as part of the piece. And I just love all the leaf sort of motifs around that. Now let's get rid of that bit. So we'll put that down. Now I've got other more modern tea towels. And so that's another option. If you've got sort of, and often we have tea towels, but we've never used them, because sometimes they're too pretty. Again, you can incorporate elements from, printed pieces, whether it would be just taking a flower or a pinky butterfly. Some of these are probably just verging on a bit too intense in colour, but even the writing, you can get lovely sort of French styled tea towels, etc. So that's a thought. Just pop that over, that can sit up here. Got some fabrics from, again, these are the beautiful, they're polyesters, so they're not natural, or they're synthetics, maybe not a polyester, but a synthetic. They're not natural fibres, but they've just got some lovely designs, and I got these ones from the Reverse Art Truck, which has fabric samples from industry and from all over the world that you can just get for an absolute steal. They're just such lovely fabrics and very decent sizes for slow stitch. So I want to probably use maybe a bit more of the muted. I might actually fold it and use a bit more of the muted tones down the bottom. So with some of your fabrics, you'll be kind of looking for where's the bits that are the bits that look like the tones I want. You might not have all the fabric meeting the draft for what you want, but in this case, those muted tones I think are going to be lovely. So let's put that over there. Then I've got gorgeous Sanderson fabric, and I've got a mass of it. I'm incredibly lucky to have this piece. It's huge, so we'll only be able to use a small amount. But I'm hoping in this piece to be able to incorporate some of the lovely blooms and to do beautiful thread painting on them, which if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I really enjoy painting with thread. So I will pop that up there as an inspiration, if I can get it to sit down. And then I've got lots more, not necessarily Sanderson, some of them might be Sandersons, but again, I'm just playing to these more muted, they're not really pastel, but they're muted tones, I would say. They've probably got a bit of pastel in them. So this one would have probably been a tablecloth or something. I want to put them around. If I am going to incorporate this piece, I want to have that beautiful little bit of ribbon embroidery there. Got some gorgeous vintage, possibly antique. This is all embroidered or woven in the fabric. Probably wouldn't end up using the grey bits, but I'd use parts of the strips of these. Over here maybe. And then I've got where someone had taken a whole range of, I think, upholstery fabrics, vintage ones, and sewn them together. I've been gradually unpicking them and using them in my work. So some of these would definitely fit the brief, I think. So beautiful, and you could just be using portions of them, but they've got a lovely aged look to them. So I might just put some of them there as well. Can be a bit hard where they're trying to jump up when you fold them. And so again, probably too bright in some sections of it, but then more muted sections as well. So with this, I'd take one of the more muted sections. Not sure if I'm going to bring the blue in. It's a possibility because I suppose there are bits of blue, so we'll keep that in play. Let's just have a look. Oh, I like that one there. And it has my favourite birds as well. So I do like that. And I've got a green now. I think that's probably, this is erring a bit too on the intense side, so I'm going to return that to my not being used pile. I've got this beautiful cheesecloth, which I used in one of my recent videos where I'm putting together all my Roxy Journal of Stitchery pieces from the last project, or the current project, the Down the Garden Path. So it's a lovely cheesecloth. I think I can bring purples in because some of my pieces have that. So that's a smaller flower, but it will be good to have some smaller ones because I'm rapidly going to run out of space if they're all the big blooms. Got just some strips of fabric, which will definitely come in handy. And some more just lovely roses. Again, some of these might be a little on the bright side, so I might even just use some of the foliage sections as well, but I can see. This one's on a white background, so no cream, so I could either maybe give it a light tea dyeing, because I think I do want to stick with not stark whites. My blue piece is the one where I will put whites in, but this one I think, yeah, I'd probably give this just a light tea dyeing possibly. Just pick it under there. Oops, a little bit of satin or something. So I'll just pop this one down here maybe. And then another brown, just a little skerrick, fabric remnant of vintage fabrics. Always fun. This one's lovely, lots of different blooms and just lovely sort of detail in the design. Now this one's one that reminds me of Versailles or any of the or the Chateau de Villandry, the gardens, which I featured in another stitchery from a chateau in France, which have just the most amazing gardens. And it's a design, and this one came from the Sewing Layer online op shop. I was so happy to get it. I couldn't really see what it was in a little bundle. I thought it might look like this, and so I was thrilled when I got it, and I actually got 2 pieces of it, but it's got almost like architectural garden designs in it. So I think it does go with the theme. It's probably slightly brighter than the colours, but again, maybe I'll apply a very light tea dyeing to it. And I think that would work. That would bring it just down a little bit and make it look more like a vintage map as well. So tea dyeing will be your friend if you're working with whites and you want to give your pieces more of a vintage look. So some more just little pieces, but they're very useful. They're not tiny. If anything on this, I'd probably just be using little portions. Another bit of blue and a little bit of yellow. Let's put that somewhere where I don't have blue. This one's a Sewing Layer one, I can tell, because they label it all like that. Keep my elastic band, they always come in handy. And so just muted tones. Again, I think this is actually a linen cotton. It looks pretty old as well. I'll just tuck that down here. Another nice little morsel. The blooms themselves are the pink ones are quite bright, but the blues are a bit more muted. So I think that will still be okay. And then I see some more friends, my friends, the birds. Aren't they beautiful? Are they like hummingbirds, I think? So this piece of fabric, someone has obviously put a hem around it. or not a hem, sort of edging around it to stop it fraying or whatever. But I think that's really sweet. Then I've got this piece which is probably too bright in the bulk of it, but then there's some sections, particularly up the top, and even maybe including the watering can, that I could either fussy cut out or just use the sections like love, because who knows, we might be asked to incorporate some words into our pieces, or some, like if they said something that goes in the garden, could put the watering can in. So I will keep that. Can we even see that? Maybe I'll put it over here. Still can't really see it. There we go. And this one again, probably a bit too vibrant, but I do like the butterflies, but I'm not sure. But again, maybe I can tea dye it, and that will sort of bring it back down. So I'll put it a bit out of screen because it's not yet tea dyed. Another little just decorative skerrick down there. This one's a table runner, but I thought it could be nice to add some decorative elements. Probably the tassels aren't the right color, but that's okay. Don't have to use the tassels. Let's put that up there. This was one of the little labels that came with my lovely package of fabrics from Lucello in Melbourne, where I got a lot of the beautiful burgundy fabrics as part of my birthday package. So yeah, the yellow is probably a smidge bright, but even maybe the other thing I can do if any of my pieces are too bright is I can possibly use some tulle over the top. Because if you've seen my videos, I recently got a massive stash of laces and tulle and beaded pieces. So maybe I can play around with that as well. And I'm wondering if I dye some of the tulle with tea dyeing, then it will give me that little sort of more vintagey looky patina. So that's something to have a play around with, I reckon. Some more these beautiful cream and just nice muted colours on that. I've almost covered up my little patch down here, but we can still see it, so I think that's enough to give the idea. These are some fabrics from the reverse art truck. Now I'm not sure, they may be a bit too full on. Again, I think they'll need to be tea dyed if I'm going to use them. So I'll just put them to the side. This one's got more browns and yellows on it. Got some stripes, which I'm not convinced I'm going to use, unless I do need some more sort of coordinating pieces. So I might just put those off to the side. I've got some little feathery pieces, which I quite like. Again, I'll probably tea dye that if I'm putting that in. Put that pink stripe away as well. This one, I think I already had that piece somewhere in here. I do. Oh no, it's the same design, but it's got a pink back colorway, I think. So that's interesting. I would have got those two totally separately, I think. Maybe I'm just attracted to the same vintage fabrics when I see them. I mean, the sewing lace sometimes has bundles, so you get a similar fabric or the same fabric. This is a beautiful fabric sample. I don't know if it's got its name on it. You can tell it's been from a sample because it's got the holes along here. But I think holes are lovely to incorporate as well, and it's incredibly soft and incredibly lovely. And some of these sorts of blooms are really beautiful. So we'll definitely have to put that into the mix. And then this one looks like a Sanderson as well, on a beautiful linen. Different to our other Sanderson. Definitely want to have that in play. What am I covering up over here? It is a challenge fitting everything in. This one's little posies. Again, I can potentially use some of the elements even individually. Let's just put that, oops. Let's not try and obscure everything. I feel like I'm maybe now covering that up a bit too much. Maybe I'll put that down there. What's that? Now I've got some others, but I don't think they're going to fit on fabric wise, and they're sort of smaller prints. So I'll keep them on hand, but not use them in this flat lay or this mood board. Another lovely old piece of fabric, beautiful linen as well, just feels divine. So I'll put that down there. This was one I got, I think it might be a French general, and I'm thinking more for sort of when I do some of my Christmas crafting but don't want to be full on Christmassy. It's got the sort of Christmas colours, but I don't think it's right for this. So I'm going to put it to the side. This one I think is lovely, and you can just cut out the individual elements of it. That's a newer fabric. Oops. This one's from a giant doona cover that was beautiful and soft and old and vintage, and I just love the swirling design. So that really captures for me the garden as well. So I think that will be great to use. Maybe I'll even. It is hard. I'm struggling where to fit things. And then this one has beautiful muted cream colours, and again just a lovely fabric, probably a vintage upholstery fabric as well, although it's thinner. Let's put that there. Okay, got this one. So I haven't got as much of this green in yet, but I know I've got other pieces in my collection, so I'll be able to add to that. So definitely want to be drawing that sort of colour out, and it is in the other pieces. I guess when I cut them or use them, I can have that. Then I want to be using some of my beautiful vintage laces. These are just some of the pieces I have handy. I just adore this one. It is so beautiful. The detail on it is amazing. So it's definitely been very hoarded. I don't think I've actually used it in anything, so it will be lovely. I think I've had this one for a very long time. I think possibly from France, I think. But it is divine. So we have to give that a special spot. This one's quite heavy. You wouldn't think a lace is heavy, but it's and it's falling apart a little bit, but that's all a part of the charm. This one again, very old. It's got a little bit of staining on it, but it is absolutely delicious. Put that down there. Got some other laces that are a bit more white, so I probably won't use them for this piece. I've of course got all those beautiful laces I got recently from Silk and Stitch that you can see in another video. They're mostly packed away at the moment, but I will be drawing from those. You saw some of the beautiful beading pieces in the video, my Bountiful Blues video. Am I looking at the wrong side? Sometimes it's hard to tell with these. No, that's the front. So let's just find a little spot to put that. Don't know, where am I going to fit it? Now I can't even see some of those things. Pop it down there. And then some gorgeous ones with flower designs all over them. Put that there. Lovely little skerricks of lace. Some more of just those little bitty pieces. Oops, we're obscuring our little scene down there as well. This one's probably too bright of a white for this, unless it dies, but then I've got a whole bunch. Let me just grab them. Now this one's off a big roll that I have, so I'll definitely be using some of that. And it's a beautiful, just sort of coffee coloured off-white, but I need to bring that down a little bit into frame. Across a bit. And just little miniature pieces of ribbon embroidery, very old. Lovely little crochet pieces. Maybe put that over here. And then these are some more recent, just little wooden cutouts. I think they're meant to be used with scrapbooking or card making or something, but they could be fun. I've got sort of flower elements of those as well. These are just some little gum nuts. I don't know if I'd be using gum nuts in this piece. Some more lovely bits of ribbon embroidery with the ribbon even hanging off the back as though it's still being worked. Oops, maybe I'll just need to fold that down a touch, or maybe put it there. And then gorgeous muted toned doilies. So definitely I'll be going through my doily stash, which I haven't done yet, and finding beautiful doily pieces that I want to include. Just trying to work out where I can put everything. Again, just this one's got beautiful butterflies on it. How sweet's that? Maybe I'll just put that. Can we see that? No, we can't even see that. I even just have to angle it a smidge up more. Just bringing the camera out a bit more. Hope I'm not making anyone seasick. I just feel like I'm missing too much of the gorgeousness. And another really old lace, got a bit of fluff on it. So that's lovely too. Now I've got a bit more real estate up here. I can maybe just smidgy that in. Can barely see that there. I might need to put that down somewhere. Not sure where though. Can just see it over there. Again, some more gorgeous doilies. These are more recent machine embroideries, but maybe some of the more muted tones, particularly if I maybe sort of dye it down a bit, that might be good as well. A sweet little cross stitch heart. Put that down there. Got so many vintage handkerchiefs, some of them with staining on them, so happy to use those. And maybe tea dye them. And then lovely designs of, and this one is beautiful. It's got little cherubs in it. Don't know if you can see them. So that's sweet. Very, very sweet. And then more lovely pastel little handkerchiefs. Where to put them, I do not know. Maybe I'll put one up there. Then cross stitch. This is probably a bit bright, so I'm going to put that off to the side. Just other laces on handkerchiefs that this one's got some staining on it and no other sort of embroidery in it, starting to lose its threads, but just look at that lovely flowers and all done by hand and just amazing. So really want to celebrate some of these pieces. And then beautiful applique work, and this is on a stained and it's been partially cut, so I'll be happily able to use that. So I've still got a massive pile of little tissues, so not tissues, little handkerchiefs here. So I'm just, look at this one. Don't know if I can actually use this one unless it is stained, but just it's got the most detailed little bits of embroidery all over it. It is a rich little embroidery piece, even little dots embroidered on it. So I'm not sure, that one might have to be kept as a special. Although I suppose by putting them in this piece, it's going to be keeping them as special pieces as well, isn't it? That's what we have to keep reminding ourselves, so that we do actually use and enjoy our stashes. So that's that. Also got beautiful laces like this. So maybe I'll lay one across here. I've got pink laces, which might be nice to bring in little skerricks of those. Let's put a bit of that at the side. Got some special vintage embellishments. This is like ribbon little flowers, which could be nice. So I'm not sure, maybe I'll meander those across here. Maybe like that. And I've also got pastel green coloured laces like this, so some of that might come into play as well. Almost dropped the lace into my cup of tea. That would not have been good. Beautiful embroidered braids, which are delicious. Nothing should ever go to waste, even this beautiful silk with a lovely little, almost like a cutwork sort of design on it. So things like that can just add lovely touches. Now I have to show you these. I think they could be nice for the garden theme, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bring metal in here. So I actually think the gold one will end up in my burgundy piece, and maybe this one will end up in my blue piece, but I didn't get the chance to show you them last night. These came from Lucello as well, and they're vintage French metal buttons that they then just sew onto their own cards, but they are really gorgeous. I have a supplier, a lady that I buy from in France as well, and she has quite a lot of metal buttons as well. So I might do a video talking about her, because most of her listings, etc. She's on eBay, I think, and her listings are all in French, but you can, if you don't speak French, you can translate them. And she has very, I think, well-priced pieces for various French things, including the French laundry labels, which I will be using in probably my burgundy piece, which are the ones with the little letters on them. So I'm not sure whether I'll put that, I'll pop it, oh no, I'll just pop it off to the side down here. But yeah, it probably won't be featuring in this piece. But this piece will feature some of my absolute precious treasures, which I have not used in anything yet. And that is these amazing hand-blown glass beads / buttons. Now I'm going to put it down for fear that I'm going to drop it and destroy it and there will be tears. Oh, it's quite slippery. So they're like I guess a pearlescent finish, but then they've been, that top bit that you can see, that loop is glass, and it's hand-blown glass beads. And so I have a container of the big ones, and they are different sizes and different colorations. That's because they're handmade. Let me just grab one of the little ones. So again, just miniature, but so gorgeous. So these are going to go in this piece because they'll be in a frame, they'll be protected. I would never want to use them on one of my Stitchery pieces that's maybe just hanging on the wall or something in case it fell down. These are gorgeous glass buttons, again, vintage or antique glass buttons. So I think definitely some of these very special treasures will be going in there. There's more. That's another glass button, these pearlescent ones, and some of the decorative white ones. I probably wouldn't use the white ones in this piece, but some of these other ones, and at least one each of my baubles as well. So in fact, I'll leave that out so we can see them. And because we have the ribbon embroidery, I'll just pop some of those down as well. Got a range of, these ones came from a lady, let me see, I don't think it's got her name there, no. It's like a vintage plant card. That's another retailer of vintage and reclaimed goodies, and this just came as a little gift in the package. But those ones are probably too bright, but maybe that one might work. And that's a beautiful floral button, wooden button. I've got some others actually, but I think they're a bit more white coloured. But that one can definitely go into the mix, and maybe the green can go in as well. Sorry for me rustling around. Now I've also got a range of the mini charm squares, which I love to use because they're just small 2.5 inch squares of fabric. So I've got the Promenade range, the Shores and Country Rose. I usually just keep an eye out for when these come on special, when they're sort of, I guess, selling out of them. So Little Patch of Heaven, where I've bought my new fabrics from, which is like a quilting store here in Victoria. I just keep an eye out when they're having a sale and when they've got discounted. But this has got some nice muted, it's got the green that I want to use. Let me just find, so for example, that green, the green in there. So I think that one, the Promenade's definitely going to be useful. And then the Shores has that green as well as some blues and yellows, but muted tones. And then Country Rose, so that's probably a bit too intense, probably not the oranges, but maybe some of that will come into play. It's probably a little bit more striking, so that one might not. But definitely the Shores and Promenade will be useful. I don't think I have room to put them fully out, so I might just have to. Not sure. Maybe I'll tuck the labels under because we don't need to see labels. We can just see bits of fabric. So I'll leave that one out. Be using different embroidery. This is just a silk embroidery floss. Put that down in the foreground. Now recently Mum's still got a lot of Nanna's things as well that she's gradually going through, but she brought me around a bag of different yarns from Nanna, and this one's really fascinating. She said, oh, you've got to have a look at this one, and it's got little bits of ribbon and variegated ribbon woven through it. It's a beautiful soft whatever the actual wool component, but I'll definitely be using some of this either in the stitching, or the other idea I had was, let me grab these, was to actually wind some of the yarn that I want to display and kind of remember in its, I guess, not raw form, but in the form that it comes to me in. I can wind it around these little wooden old, sort of old style dolly pegs. Now these are a new craft supply that I got a few years back, and I've used them painted as part of my little dolly snippet rolls, which you can see in another video, but I thought that could be a fun way to have it as part of my piece, because my piece is going to be dimensional. So I'll pop that one down, and then the other way you can do it is to also roll around little bobbins, and again these are more recent bobbins, but I've got other lovely fibres from Nanna as well. So this one's just gorgeous. This one's definitely, maybe I'll put that in the mix properly. And then there's another little muted one with blues and purples. So again, that could be lovely. Oops. And there's another little ball of this. So I will put that down there. All Nanna's. And Nanna was a seamstress. And as Mum says, she would love to be looking down and seeing what I'm doing. As Mum says, she'd love to be actually here and be part of it. And I'm sure she'd be joining us right into her late 90s. She was living life to the full and still enjoying doing crafting, probably a bit more of the sort of puzzles and things in her late years, but living a very active, happy life. Pop that there. Popping a little bobbin there to remind me later on that that's something I want to incorporate. Now that's a bigger roll of that other one, and then just a nice little mini roll. And then as I've been incorporating in some of my other pieces, I've got these beautiful vintage haberdashery or antique haberdashery in some cases, made in England, rust entirely prevented sharps. They're little egg-eyed sharps, so needles, Redditch, which was a very famous place for making needles. I think they still might make them there. Someone would have to tell me, but it's in the green, so I think it suits this piece. And then another beautiful embroidered trim. So where can I put that we'll see that? Put that along there. So, looking. There is always more. I'm looking, I've got these tubs, little Kmart plastic stackable tubs that I keep, generally sort of more embellishing things. These have got some of the variegated yarn that I have put on little bits of cardboard. Oh, that one's going to be lovely for this piece. This is one of the variegated Wonderfill cottons. I'm just going to pop that in the mix. And then fun little pieces like this. I'm going to just pop that down there as well. Probably a bit too bright. Oh, and then these are the little buttons I was telling you about, but I don't know if they're going to be too bright, but they have little painted or printed flowers on them. They were just little cheapies I got from an importer. And then, yeah, lots more to go through for the other pieces as well. I saw lots of gold pieces in there. But I think that will be enough. Oh, I've got a bag of goodies as well from my partner's mum. Now, you've seen me use some of this beading in one of my other Roxy pieces, but I'll definitely be going through the bags. There's lots of buttons and other things other special treasures in here, some burgundy. So I'm going to have to go through, and some beautiful gold treasures as well. And I've got another bag with lots of her sort of other jewelry bits that she's given me. So I will definitely be including pieces from Betty in this as well. But she has always been a very keen sewer. She's got trouble in her hands now, so can't do as much of the crafting anymore. So anyway, there we go. That is Blooming Beauty. I hope that's given you some more inspiration. Oh, and of course, I'm sorry, I can't help myself, honestly. Like, there's buttons, of course, and then there's the Suffolk puffs as well. Sorry, hope I didn't just put my head in. You don't need to see that. Suffolk puffs, I'll be looking through to find ones that are in the sort of more muted colour tones and colourways. But I have had fun again with you. I can't believe like 45 minutes is gone because I've just been having fun playing with fabrics and chatting away to you. So hopefully it's given you some inspiration, ideas of different types of things that you can use. There's really, the sky's the limit. If you like something and like the look of it, find a way that you can attach it into your piece. Like even these little needles, I'll find a way, whether it's just a few bits of string across them, or maybe a little stitch through the top, or a little pocket that they can sit in. So all sorts of ways you can incorporate things in, and even using elements, if your piece is able to handle it, that will sit out from the piece as well. So take care, everyone. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're planning to create, if you're taking part, or if you're doing another Stitchery project. Let me know how that's going. And take care, everyone, and speak to you soon. Bye.